Hello everybody, karibuni sana to this live. So today we'll be talking about how not to ruin your business through emotional decision making. And I think the first place we need to start is first of all identifying what we call emotions, or what are we defining as emotions. So today I'll draw a heart here, and many times when we think of emotions, we think of I think feminine feelings. And I hear a lot of men keep telling women stop being emotional, and women become very irritated by that. But emotions can span from a lot of things. For example, from fear, and I hope you can see what I'm writing. The pen is a bit faded. You can have fear, anxiety. Oh, what a time. Let me get another pen. So anxiety could be an emotion that could be influencing you. Let me get a pen from my colleague Michelle here. Then we have emotions such as anger. Right? And I think these are the main ones that we feel usually affecting most business people. Oh, and also we have imposter syndrome. As one of the emotions that we tend to be operating from as business people. So first of all, the first step as an entrepreneur is to first identify, do I make emotional decisions or am I driven by facts? And maybe you look at your current situation, and when you're doing an evaluation of your business and you're thinking, how are our finances doing? How are our sales doing? How is our marketing doing? How are the people in the business doing? Then you figure out, do we have challenges? Where are these challenges coming from? And even if you're not going to do a full audit, you're able to step back and look at how the business is running. You're able to identify decisions that you made as an entrepreneur that affected the business. So first of all, how do you recognize that you make emotional decisions? If you're not making decisions based on fact, or based on figures that you have received, or based on research, then you're making emotional decisions. Even things like what we call gut feeling, and this is a common one in our space, in the entrepreneurship space, where you're feeling a hunch and you want to go with a hunch when you're trying to make business decisions. It's going to be a difficult thing to. So if you find yourself, for example, making decisions based on gut feeling or fear, or you're unable to say pursue business because of fear, or you're afraid to pursue a new angle of the business because of fear, or you've had, say, a very rough experience and you're afraid to go back to it. Say, for example, you really failed at something and then now you're afraid to go into it, or you're anxious about, say, for example, the economic situation, and then you're not making the decisions that your business needs. For example, you might need to downsize, but you're anxious about how it will look in the market. Perhaps it's even time for you to close, but you're anxious about how will people see me? They'll see me as a failure. But then you're running costs and going into debt, and you're not doing anything about it because you're held back by your emotions. Or if you find yourself continuously snapping at people in the office, or snapping at your customers, snapping at anyone who's around you, whether you think it's a problem or not, it is not okay to be emotional with your clients or with your employees. Even when they've done something wrong, or even when it's their fault, there's always a cordial way to handle issues. So based on that, we will now discuss each and how we can get over that, and how do we now move away from making emotional decisions to now running a business based on fact? And what are the benefits even? So, if you struggle with maintaining relationships, for example, and this is one of the biggest issues we have with our clients, who, if you find you have to spend a lot of money on marketing and there's not too much in terms of repeat business, then either you or your team is struggling in maintaining relationships. Then you might have an emotional problem, because if your team is behaving a certain way, they might have inherited that way of handling business from you. So if you're not treating your employees well, they're not going to treat your clients well. So it's very important that you're handling yourself in a manner where you're professional to your employees, so that your employees are professional to your clients. And I know some of you will come back and say, oh no, me, I'm very good to my employees are just wild and they tend to just ruin things, or I had Gen Zs and Gen Zs are hard to manage. Fair enough, but if you're not the first person to start with professionalism, don't expect people to bring it to the table, and yet it is your business. So it's important that you set the tone and go as far as creating a culture code for your business, or culture code for your organization. And a culture code is where you're defining who we are, how do we treat each other, how do we treat people externally, how do we treat people internally. What are the expectations? If we value integrity, or if we value feedback, or we value teamwork, these are things that you must communicate to everybody in your team, so that they're able to handle customers the same way. If it's not clear what we believe in as a collective, it's going to be difficult to translate that to customers. So one of the things that companies struggle with, especially where leaders are emotional and make emotional decisions, is creating a culture that can support good customer relations. And now, in the end, you will have customers who come and buy once and leave because they didn't have a good experience with your team. So those are things we need to inculcate in your business, so you're making sure you're handling people professionally, regardless of what they've done. Even if someone, I have a client who has lost quite a substantial amount of inventory from theft by an employee. But at the moment, since they don't have the culprit, it's very hard for them to just treat everyone professionally. So in the last few months, we've been having issues where they're yelling at everybody, they're calling everybody a thief in the office, they're just difficult to work with, and almost everybody is looking for a job. So if he was not able to rein in his emotions, it would have made even the investigation easier, because no one would know they're being investigated. No one would be acting in a certain kind of way, and everyone would be doing their job. But now, because he's unable to handle his emotions, then it has made the investigation difficult. We're not able to get the facts of who stole, and now moving forward in terms of how to handle the situation without harming the entire organization, because there are a lot of things now that have been put on hold. People who are deserving on raises had to wait for a while. People who had performed well were now being scrutinized, and yet they were not culprits, and they were not even involved. So it's important that even when bad things have happened, that you rein in your emotions, because the company still has to move forward, and it can't hang on how you're feeling about what happened. All right. Two, you lose credibility if you can't make decisions the right way, not just with your customers, but even with your employees. You, as the owner of the business, are the leader, and you're the point which everybody is looking up to. If you make decisions emotionally, then you lose credibility. And if you lose credibility, you stop being the person who everyone is looking up to. If employees are not looking up to you in terms of direction on where the company is going, or direction in terms of how work needs to be done, then you have everyone looking elsewhere for direction. And it becomes hard to form a team, and it becomes hard to even translate that dream you have into reality. So it's important that you maintain credibility with the people you're working with and even the people you're selling to. Make sure that if I work for you, I am confident that you're doing the best thing for the company and you're doing the best thing for me, so that I'm able to take instruction from you. It's not only about I'm the boss, I have said this is how it needs to be done. Remember, we're in a different generation now. We are not just working like the way we used to work as millennials or Gen X and Gen Y and baby boomers, where the boss was everything. Now we're working with employees who question anything you say. In their heads they're thinking, is that the right decision? Is that the right direction to go as an organization? So it's important to build that trust that the boss has thought about it, they have taken all the data that they need to make this decision, and I think this is the best direction. Because especially in an organization where you have other leaders, say for example, you are the boss, you have maybe someone in charge of operations, someone in charge of sales, someone in charge of marketing, someone in charge of finance, someone in charge of people. If these people are not working towards the strategic goal for the company, everyone is doing their own thing, you will not meet those targets. But they need to have that point where they're looking at. And the boss needs to be that person who's neutral. When I'm struggling to work with this individual, I can easily go to the boss and have these issues resolved. So if my boss is emotional, then I'm stuck in the middle, and I'm going to start looking outside to go and further my career elsewhere. So I'll start taking questions from you. There's one here that we received earlier. This person is saying, I've spent so much time mentoring a team member and they just gave notice. I feel betrayed and discouraged. How do I keep giving without feeling taken advantage of? I think it is a challenge for most employers to lose valuable employees. And we do feel it emotionally. Even my team knows, and I've told them, when they are resigning, they need to talk to me first, give me a call, tell me I'm leaving before sending me a resignation email. Because honestly, it's very heartbreaking receiving a resignation email, especially from an employee that you value and trust and you've been working together. However, you pouring into this employee is not, it's like pouring into a child. You're not expecting anything back. It's like expecting that your child will pay you back for you paying school fees for them, for you feeding them, for you taking care of them. Remember, you're the one who brought them into the world. Don't expect anything back. It's your responsibility to take care of that child. It's the same thing with an employee. The employee is not there for free. They're not there, to entertain you. It's a business relationship. They're there to deliver the service that you're paying them for. And it is their choice whether they want to stay with you or whether they want to grow. And remember, many times when an employee is leaving, they could be leaving because they want more money. It is not wrong for them to want more money. They want to advance their careers. They want to make money. They have their goals. They are the things they want to buy, the things they want to achieve. It's not wrong for them to be ambitious and to want to move on. So you taking it personally is, what's the word? Unreasonable. Because you're looking at this person as if they're with you for life. In fact, one of our biggest clients used to say, I only give my employees 2 years. If after that, then it is a bonus for me and I'm very happy. But if I'm not meeting the 2 years, then it's my job to ensure that I create retention systems so that they stay with me at least that long. You must be ensured that, first of all, what are you doing to retain your employees? Are you treating them well? Do they want to work for you? Many times when people leave, they leave people because either they're not happy working with them or they just have other needs that you're not able to meet. So if you're struggling with an employee leaving you, remember they're not your brother, they're not your friend, they're an employee. You might create relationships with them, they might end up being friends, but at the end of the day, the business relationship that they're terminating is that one of the business one. They might remain friends. I have employees who have their own farms right now. I have employees who've gone on and they're having very large careers, and we're still friends. And I'm happy for them, and I'm always clapping for them, because you never know. These are people who've worked intimately with you, and they can't mention your name in places that you can't. I have employees who now have become HR managers in big companies, and they will come back for us for our services because they know how we work. And of course, we are still friends. So don't look at it as if it's an attack on you or like rejection. Always look at it as one of your persons is going into another space, and this is now a new network you have built, one that you have maintained intimately. So once you step back and stop looking at things emotionally, you will see that this is actually could be advantageous for you. All right? So let's discuss practical techniques to avoid emotional decision making. Number one, before acting, before speaking, if something happens, before doing anything, pause and reflect. Count to 10. If you're temperamental, count to 30. If it's not enough, count to 60. Don't do anything. If you're still irate, stand, walk out, go for a walk for 10 minutes, calm down. Then now you can make a decision. Don't make decisions when you're in the heat of the moment. It's important, and one of the therapists I really believe in keeps saying you need to be able to regulate your emotions. Only 2-year-olds are allowed to have unregulated emotions. If in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, you still are not able to regulate your emotions, then you really need to put in work, because now your life is going to be in shambles. You're going to ruin relationships around you, and you're not going to be able to create strong bonds with people, not just your employees, even with clients, even with other relationships around you. So if you're not able to control that initial impulse, whether or not we're talking about anger, or we're talking about fear, or we're talking about sad, we're not talking about grief. If something bad has happened, then that one we really can't control it. But we're saying if it's anger or fear, or you are not able to deal with something and pull yourself back and just calm down before you speak or do anything, it's going to be a challenge for you. So number 2, before you make any business decision, gather enough data. And what am I talking about? If you want to go into a new product or service, do your research first. If you have an idea, do your research first. We always ask for what is called a feasibility study. Is this a viable idea? How many people are doing it in the market? If no one is doing it in the market, what is the size of the market we're looking at? Are they going to buy? Do actual research, questionnaires, ask people, do focus groups. Find out before you go into any decision you're going to make. If you want to cut down on your team, first do research, have an audit done. See how many people are in your team. Which ones are you going to cut off? This is not the point where you start removing the employees you don't like. Remember, as an employer, you will not like everyone who works for you. You don't have to. All you need is for them to do their job. Now, if you are making decisions on, I don't like that guy, I don't like the way he dresses, or I don't like that lady, that one I hear she sleeps around, or I don't like I don't know what, because there's always a lot of things and nuances and gossip that happen around your organization as an employer. If you're making decisions based on gossip, or you've had, or you just nuances, or I just don't get along with this person, remember you have your own personality that might not bond well with other personalities. For example, if you are severely introverted as an entrepreneur, because that can happen, you have an employee who's also introverted, you're not likely to get along. So what you must do is to figure out, is this person doing their job? If they're not, make decisions surrounding their JD, the KPIs have been issued, and the reports they're sending you on a weekly basis. Then you're able to make a decision about letting an employee go, not based on what you feel about them. If you're not trusting your decision, get a second opinion. Ask someone who's trusted. And this is why we tell our clients, make sure you have a sounding board. A sounding board could be a board of directors, could be friends of the board. So what we do is, if your company is not big enough to have a board of directors, you could have friends of the board, people who've been in business long enough or who've been professionals long enough, preferably in the legal, marketing, sales, HR space, so that they're able to advise you specifically on things that are happening in the organization. So if you're not able to find people like that, get a trusted friend and ask them, I want to let go of an employee, what do you think? And tell me honestly. And be able to listen to feedback. And sometimes that feedback may be hurtful to you. But if you're not able to hear feedback, then it's going to be a challenge in terms of moving forward. And then, as I had said earlier, if you're pausing and waiting and you need to make a decision, unless it is one that is an emergency, try waiting 24 hours on it. I have clients who will always tell me, let me sleep on it, which is a very good thing. Let me sleep on it, let me think about it, let me see how I feel about it in the morning, based on the data that you've given me or based on the situation at hand. That way you know you're using data. If you are working with a consultant like us, for example, give us a call, ask us, I think I'm going to make a decision about this, what do you guys think? And then finally, do a scenario analysis and a risk assessment. So if I decide to go this direction, what is going to be the risk? And if I go this direction, what is going to be the risk? If you have done both risk assessments and seen if I go this way, I'm likely to suffer more than if I go this way, then you're likely to make better decisions as opposed to just going forward for it. A simple way of looking at it is choosing, this is out of business, I'm going to go on a tangent here. If you're selecting someone to date, whether you're a guy or a lady, and you go based on your feelings, and you've not sat down to think, okay, what are the positives and the negatives of this individual? This is how you manage red flags, in my opinion. And I'm not a relationship coach, and I'm just thinking from where I'm sitting. So if you were able to write down the positives of this individual and the negatives, if you make a decision based on, if I end up in a relationship with them, I'm likely to struggle with their mood swings, I'm likely to struggle with, say for example, if they are not working, that I'm going to end up taking care of them, or if they have trauma that they're dealing with, that I'm likely to be punching back for that. If you have looked at the risks of dating that person before you go into the relationship, you're likely to make better decisions, i.e. maybe not go with them, or find somebody else who's easier to deal with. So I mean, if you're able to do a risk assessment, then you're able to manage the decision-making process and making sure that you're not using your emotions just to move forward. All right, I'm going to take another question here. Someone is asking, letting someone go always feels personal, even when it's the right decision. I lose sleep over it. Is it normal for leadership to feel this heavy, or am I too emotionally attached? This is something I struggle with. And I have gotten into a lot of trouble for not letting people go at a time where business was collapsing. I'll give you an example. About 6 years ago or 7 years ago, we were going through a financial crunch. Things were not going very well. We were struggling to get payments from clients, and we were in tough times. But my team was large. But I kept thinking, okay, I'm not able to fire this one. This one has a baby. This one has just gotten married. This one, she's single, she's living on her own. How is she going to survive after she's gone? And soon enough, we had a walkout because now salaries were late and people were upset. And yet I could have made the decision to let them go, or at least reduce the team size much earlier, and I would have been able to sustain the business. So I would advise, and what I should have done then is I probably should have sought help, perhaps from a professional like a therapist, to help me manage my emotions through that, so that I'm able to make the decision on time. Because if I had done that, then I would have been able to save the business much earlier and would not have had such a big deep to go through and a lot of debt to carry as a result. So if you're struggling to let go of someone who you know is the right decision to let them go, find help, talk to somebody about it, process that emotion, and then still do it, because it must be done. If that is what your business needs, it must be done, and then now fix yourself after that. All right. In a second, we should be able to take a call, but if you have any questions, please comment below, DM us if you must. But if you have any questions, please talk to us so that we're able to answer you. And then how do we now create a culture where maybe the issue is not you as the owner, but it's the people who you work with, or you have someone in particular who makes very bad decisions, who is very emotional, or maybe they have an employee who's very good but they make emotional decisions, or you feel that your team already is at the space where people make emotional decisions, or there's a lot of clashing around, people are just not getting along, people are biting each other, it's just a toxic environment. How do you go about changing that? I mean, first thing is to establish very clear policies on how we manage each other. A great place to start is not even a HR manual. I like culture codes because they're more fun and they're easy. They're not really a rule book, but it's like a guiding light. It tells the organization, this is who we are about. We are about fun, we are about innovation, we are about loving each other, not even loving, but being kind to each other. And then you create a model out of that. Okay, so you have the document, you have the culture code, but then build everything around it. You have activities that support the culture code. So for example, you have your baraza, or you have a town hall meeting every month, and you make sure that the mood is right for that. Create activities within the week or even at the baraza, creating that mood that, no, here we talk about our issues, we sort them out. I think the worst thing you could do as an employer is to sweep things under the carpet. If people have fought, or if they have had an issue with the customer and we're not addressing the issue head on without attacking each other, then you're not likely to solve the problem. So if you can get people to get to a place where if they're willing to talk about it, they hash things out and then move on from that, or they're at least able to say we're going to work together and treat each other civilly from here and henceforth, then you're able to slowly build back a culture where it is a fun working environment and easy to work with. And I promise you, if people enjoy working for you, it will translate to your customers. So I think maybe we can take a call at this point before we go on to the other points. Hi Leah, how are you?
I'm good.
You had a question for us?
Yeah, at 2:30.
Sorry?
At 2:30.
Yes, it's already 2:30. You have a question for us? Just ask.
Yes. Oh, I'm a business lady.
Yeah.
And I do baking.
Sorry? Yes.
I'm into baking industry.
Yes.
And I had a question.
Okay.
How do you separate a friendship in business?
Yes.
Where you work closely with the family and friends?
Okay. I think the first thing you do is, I don't know, are the family and friends already working in the business?
Yes.
Okay. Perhaps the best way is to first have a meeting with everybody to define the goals for the business.
Yes.
And to agree, all of you, that this is what you want to achieve. These are the revenues you want to make. And now this will be everybody's responsibility towards that goal. Then once you have clear responsibilities for everybody, then you need to also communicate that whatever happens at home remains at home. And when you're at work, it is just work, regardless of whether you're working with your husband, or you're working with your siblings, or you're working with your cousins or friends. We say when we enter the door, it is now business, and business must continue regardless of what happened, because we are all trying to reach to a certain goal, isn't it? Yeah, so I think that's the best way to separate, and then in future, if it's possible, reduce as much friendships and unless it's a joint business, don't hire family and friends.
Okay.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you also, I've learned something.
All right, asante. Okay, so another way we can create an emotional intelligent culture in your organization is to encourage transparency. I have seen that organizations where they really value transparency, where they know what is happening, they know where the management is going, the direction that management is going in terms of the business, open decisions are made, they tend to handle conflicts better. And you'll see with every kind of relationship you have in your life, the more transparent you are and the more open communication is, then the stronger the relationship and the easier it is to work. It's just like a marriage. If communication is a problem in a marriage, then it's not likely to work, because there's a lot of things swept under the carpet, there's a lot of unresolved emotions, and there's a lot of unresolved issues. So it's important to encourage transparency. And I know all of us are like, okay, so do I really want my employees to know everything that we're doing? Do I really want them to know how much we are making? Do I really want them to know the decisions the board has made, etc., the issues the company is having? And sometimes the answer is yes, because an employee cannot empathize with the organization if they don't know what challenges are going on, and they're not able to translate that empathy to the customer. So it's important that the people who you work with have as much information about what is happening in the organization, so that they're able to make emotionally intelligent decisions. And it doesn't matter their level of education, it doesn't matter how far they are. If you're able to explain it in a language that they can understand, it likely will make better decisions for you, for themselves and for the company at the level they're playing at. If you can, and if you have the budget for it, please get someone to train your team on emotional intelligence. I have seen there are trainers out there who teach in, and I think some of the consultants we have, some of them do train on emotional intelligence. But if you don't have one, if you have the budget to train, please train them on it. If not, train yourself so that you train them, so that you're able to impart those skills of being able to handle emotions and how to treat people with care, so that they're able to treat your customers with care. It really does impact organizations and revenue if people in organizations don't know how to handle themselves. And then when people do make good decisions, celebrate them, because people want to feel validated. So if you see people have handled conflict very well, for example, the organization, and they have yelled at your employee, and your employee is able to handle it very well, calmly, they have managed to sort the customer out, the customer is now happy, please celebrate that employee. Otherwise, there'll be no incentive for them to do well in the organization. So I don't know if any other questions are on the comment section, but I can read one more here. I've kept someone in a leadership role because we have history. They were with me from the beginning, but now they're resisting change and blocking growth. How do I move the business forward without seeming ungrateful? I've seen this with a lot, even with our clients, where someone has been with you from the start, you feel like you owe them because they've been through the thick and thin with you. So you feel like because they've been with you through the thick waters, they deserve acknowledgement and they deserve to be rewarded. And that is fair. I mean, you don't want an employee who's been with you for a long time to feel sidelined or to feel like you're not valuing their input. But what we do is ensure your company or your business has very clear performance management framework. If you don't have that, then there'll be no basis for increasing people's wages. There'll be no basis for promoting people, because this should be led by the person's performance. It should be led by the person's ability to lead. It should be led by a person's ability to grow, and even just to grow the business. Yeah. So if you don't have a performance management framework, you'll be led to make decisions such as, oh, this person has been through the thick with me, I really need to reward them. Reward them, but don't reward them with a position. You could reward them with other things. You could reward them with more money. You could reward them with benefits, other things. You don't necessarily have to put them in a position where it's going to be detrimental to the company. So if you have a clear framework for performance management and a clear framework for rewards, then it becomes very easy to promote the right person. If the wrong person is your friend and they've been there and even know your children, and you're feeling a bit weird not promoting them, have a sit down with them and tell them, look, this position would have been yours or could be yours if you change 1, 2, 3. If they're close enough to you, and if you handle yourself in a manner that suggests you're not attacking them, if you tell them, listen, I want you to fix 1, 2, 3, there's a leadership role that is waiting for you. But until you fix your attitude, or you fix how you're dealing with things, or if you're not, if it's maybe a growth thing, like they need to increase their education or their skill set, tell them this is what is stopping you from getting this position and this salary. You need to fix it. You need to be able to also communicate those issues to the employee so that they're able to grow themselves, and they're able to give you the value that you want from that particular employee. So the questions you want to ask yourself before you make any decision: am I reacting emotionally or responding logically? Number 2, have I considered sufficient data and alternative perspective? How would I advise someone else to make this same decision? So this is good. So if I was outside of myself and to someone else speaking to me, what would I advise me? And then how will it impact my business 6 months down the road, 1 year down the road, 10 years down the road? If you're able to look into the future of the decision you're making, then you're able to make better decisions, and you're not taken around by how you're feeling, and you're not making decisions based on where I feel and where I'm justified to feel like this. So if we're able to, also we have a question, sorry. Helen is asking, how do I handle letting go of a relative? Wow. So if, and you know, depending on where your relationship is with this relative, if it's already sour, then I think it would be an easier decision. I'm assuming it's a very close relative, and you're not able to, and if you let them go, for example, I'm going to make an assumption here, maybe you need to let go of a cousin, or a niece, or you know, someone who's very close to you, who if you let them go, their mother will call you and make a lot of noise. So I think the first thing is to, if you're already at the point where you need to let them go, I think the best thing is to sit down with them and explain to them what logically needs to happen. You have, and I'm sure by now you have tried several times to fix whatever issue is happening. And then now call the person who's likely to be upset at you, like their mother or so and so, and explain, you know, auntie, this is what have been your child has been doing in my business. I have tried these measures, and these measures. At this point, if I continue keeping them there, I will shut down my business. I just hope that you understand. You might not agree with me at this point, but I think he needs time to go and home and rest and decide what he wants with his life. But if anything comes up elsewhere, I will let you know. I think the best thing is to tackle it head on. Have objective conversations with the person you're letting go and the person who you feel or you're afraid you will ruin relationships with. I think that's the best way to approach an issue like that, where it's a bit touchy and it's not just your personal relationship with this employee, and possibly it's your personal relationships with say their parent or your own parent. So for example, it's your parent who told you to hire this person, and then they hear you fired them. Speak with them and tell them, you know what, I have made this decision. This is what this person has done. These are the remedial actions I have tried. They have not worked, and my business is now struggling because of this person here. So it's important to have those conversations. They might not go so well, but at least you have communicated and put everything on the table. Because now the likelihood of them going back and saying you're a terrible boss, you have been mistreating them, is quite high. So you might as well tackle it before they get there. All right, I don't know if there's any other question. If not, I think we'll close here. If you have any question, if you're struggling to make decisions in your organization, I think one of the things you could do for yourself is get yourself a business coach or a business consultant like us, who can help you walk through the journey of growing your business or turning it around regardless of where you are at in your business journey, because it helps you to have a sounding board. Like for us, my clients call me almost any time of the day. When they have a problem or they need to think through an idea, they call us to make sure, or to call me or one of our consultants to make sure that they're making the right decision. So don't go at it alone. Try and make sure that you have someone working with you. And if you have any other questions, or if you want to find out how we can work with you, please DM us, comment, like and share. Please share these videos and share these links with other people so that you're not the only one benefiting from it. We want as many people to grow in the economy because we want this economy to be stable. Thank you very much, and have a good one.